Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the presentation for Data for Policy 2022. This is for the special track, Ecosystems of Innovation and Virtual Physical Interactions. Our submission number is 8950. The topic of the day is Data for Social Equity in the AI Era, a global perspective of national strategies and challenges of transformation. I'm Tony Wong. We have two more co-authors in this conference paper, and they are Professor Wilson Wong and Dr. Kelvin. All of us are affiliated with the Data Science and Policy Studies program under the Faculty of Social Science in the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Without further delay, let's start with our presentation. To begin with, I'd like to give you an outline of this presentation. First of all, I will talk about the objectives, about why we are interested in this research about AI for social equity and how public management is going to make an impact during the AI or digital transformation. Next, background and research question. I'll give you some sense of how we support this research. Then theories addressing AI on public management and social equity. By literature review in the previous stage with gathered and collectivism of knowledge related to public management and social equity during the AI-induced transition I would like to share with you. After that, national AI strategies and preliminary findings. Last but not least, discussion and implications. Here comes the objectives of this research. The main goal of this research is to examine the new role of public management in safeguarding and enhancing social equity in the era of AI. Why? AI is always taken as a tool or technology to bring social benefits or advantages to all in the society by solving global issues or dynamic threats, including social inequality. However, it is very important to make sure the governments are ready and prepared for the AI-induced transition, which brings us to the second objective of this research is to identify the challenges and influences of public management for social equity during the AI technology-induced transition. As we are also presenting some of our preliminary findings, it is also helpful for setting up the research plan to study the issues empirically, which is our third objective. The fourth objective is to adopt a global perspective to explore national AI strategies and present the preliminary findings of considering the efforts made to accommodate the transformation, especially for social equity among different countries. Next up, we have the section of background. There are two specific terms I'd like to define. The first is artificial intelligence, AI, also known as expert system at the very first stage. It simplifies functional procedures, so it improves efficiency, which obviously brings impact on public administration. And in modern society, it deals with real-time data. It learns, reacts, and responds to real-time data continuously and accordingly. It gives instant feedback and at the same time analyzes data. So the real-time characteristics is one big feature of AI. And the second special term is social equity. It's rather abstract and it might not have very concrete and definite definitions. In this research, we describe it as equivalent fairness with flexibility in approaching, which brings equitable distribution of advantages for all in the society as a result of fair share of resources and just access to public services. How to ensure the fair share of resources and just access to official channels of services. This counts on the individual differences. So it actually requires a lot of effort to examine or to consider every individual characteristics or the trend or the pattern of individuals in the society so as to approach the social equity, which is to bring comparable or equitable outcomes or advantages to each individual instead of accuracy or sameness or equal amount of resources allocated to the individual. So to approach social equity, it requires a lot of work for the governments, and the identification of challenges and individual needs are essential for the AI industry transition. So for the research questions, we would like to first investigate the impacts of AI on public management and social equity from two perspectives. On one hand, from a broad perspective, how AI impacts on government and public management to affect its efficiency and allocation of resources. On the other hand, from a narrow perspective, how AI impacts on social equity, such as disruption of job markets, and thus the government has the capacities and adopting the appropriate policies to deal with it. In the era of AI, it is also important to understand the new role of different stakeholders. So what are the roles of public management, the leaders in the public sector, the citizen in the society, and the social participation? So compared with the conventional practice, what are the new roles and styles of different stakeholders? With extensive discussion and swift advancement of AI technology, the ultimate goal of this research is to understand if the governments are prepared to enable the application of AI in the society without compromising the social equity. All right, in this session, we'd like to share with you some of the theories we discovered by literature review. First of all, from broad perspective, the reformation of governance and leadership is inevitable in the AI industry transition. There are three main features. First one, diffused leadership in the government. It is very different from the top-down management that exerts direct and bureaucratic influence. As it is public service user-centric, it has to identify the individual needs and concentrates on data-driven solutions. The data-driven solutions would help the decision-making process, which tailors the needs and standards built specifically for AI management. Instead of adherence of organizational procedures, AI management would focus more on something that is subject to changes, which brings us to the second feature of reformation, the decentralized governance. With this kind of governance, the hierarchy is downsizing due to the collective intelligence. There is diversification of the information, and the pool of public opinions would be enlarged. It offers solutions subject to changes without establishment of procedures. And the third feature is the diluted power of authorities. It emphasizes the co-creation of public values and the co-ownership of policy intervention. With this kind of power relationship or power ownership, there are new and emergent roles and styles of leaders, public servants, and citizens. From the narrow perspective, mainly about the job disruption, the AI technology or management would impact cognitive and physical labor, both of the labor type. Although jobs which are asocial and optimization based has the high risk of being replaced by AI. Other job type might not stay truly safe. Humans are still in the competition with AI. We have to outweigh their capacities such as social and creative intelligence and cost to make sure we stay in the job market. To describe or to address the coexistence of AI and human being in the job market, there are also literature suggesting reduction, redistribute, and retrain, the 3R approach for this situation. First, for the reduction, it's about the reduction of working hours. Even though jobs which are asocial and optimization based are replaced, those labor should remain their living standard. For redistribution, we might have the enforced reallocation of resources by taxation of public expenditures in the society to help people adapt to the changes in the era of AI. And the third R, retrain, is about the people who are still required in the markets aided by AI technology. They would then have to learn new knowledge and skills and collaborate with AI. Before going to our preliminary findings, let's talk about some of our observations through OECD AI Observatory. As you can see in the map, this is the situation of AI initiatives implementation, and there is quite a number of countries without AI initiatives. In fact, there are only 60 countries which implement AI initiatives. To make things less optimistic, there are only 3 countries with AI policies for labor markets and future jobs. They are Colombia, Ireland, and UK. Echoing with the challenges from the narrow perspective mentioned earlier on, during the AI-induced transition, the effort made to approach social equity is shown very minimal. Further study in this research, we look into the national strategies and give some preliminary findings. Our data comes from major countries in the United Nations. Documents are AI specific, national level, well documented, and English translated. And with those documents, we adopt content analysis to see and examine the coverage of the impact of AI innovation on public management and social equity, and coverage of the measures coping with corresponding challenges brought by AI solutions. The findings we have is that there are limited solutions or proposals to overcome challenges of equity. The frequency of equity mentioned in the national AI strategies is just once or twice, and even the equity is mentioned, they only focused on equal data sharing or data access. There are very few analysis or reports on how AI measures bring impacts on social equity. The issue is understudied. The budget for approaching social equity is insignificant. The state society's discussion, public consultation, and action fostering social equity is minimal. Then, for the discussion and implications, AI for good to all in the society is the ideal outcome of AI implementation. However, from the findings we have, it shows that it's taken for granted that the AI-induced transition specifically for social good is accomplished automatically and effortlessly. The coverage of social equity in the national AI strategies is minimal, which hinted the lack of consideration of challenges of approaching social equity through public management in the AI era. However, the conventional public management actually hinders the development of AI and generalization of AI solutions, which means that it requires a lot of effort and changes to cope with those challenges for better generalization of AI solutions. So the concerns are pressing to be handled by the governments. With the new roles and styles of public management and social participation in the transition and thereafter, both public leaders and citizens should co-create and share the open data and policy interventions, which should be emphasized in the review of public management for social equity. There are also limitations in this research. First of all, the theories can be enriched by more identification of challenges in the era of AI, and we can also build a more integrated and theoretical framework discussing AI for social good. Data can also be enhanced. We could include all member states in the United Nations and consider all AI initiatives other than just national AI strategies. For further research in the future, we could also conduct longitudinal research, could follow up with the future issues of national AI strategies and other AI initiatives in different countries to observe the changes on emphasis of social equity in the documents over the years. That's all for our sharing. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Goodbye.